and today's topic is how to stop worrying. So, we're going to use a CBT technique called the worry tree, as well as our expressive writing to help us with our worries. So, let me just bring up the cycle we can get caught in with worry. So, what worry is usually a what if thought or a thought about something that might happen. So, worry is future focused thinking. And what can happen is if it makes us think about something that we feel apprehensive about, then that slight level of apprehension is going to trigger our nervous system. We're going to then potentially have more anxious thoughts. And so before you know it, you can get one what if thought, triggering a bit of anxiety, triggering another what if thought, triggering anxiety. And so before you know it, you can have a chain of worries that is quite hard to break out of. And one of the things that we usually do with that, especially if we're trying to sleep at night while we've got worries going through our mind, is we'll automatically try and stop ourselves from worrying. So usually that can be like, oh, stop thinking about that, try and think about something else. We try and stop ourselves. And some of us actually say, don't we, like, oh, stop thinking about that, which intuitively seems the right thing to do. But that doesn't always work. And one of the reasons for that is that it sets up a paradoxical process in the brain, which I wanted to briefly mention with an exercise called the white bear, which you may have heard of already, but I thought we could give it a try, show how the ironic process theory works in action. So here's a white bear, and what I'd like you to do is look at the white bear now. Take it all in. Now, close your eyes. And what I want you to do is to try and stop thinking about the white bear. So try and push it out of your mind if it pops back in. All right, just really try and push it out of your mind whenever it pops back in, if it pops back in. Okay. Now open your eyes. Did it pop back in? Did it try and pop back in even though you tried to push it away? Did you get flashes of the image coming back into your mind? And how many times do you think that popped back in for you? So now I want you to try something slightly different with that. So look at the white bear again. Now close your eyes. And this time I want you to try and keep the white bear there. So really try and keep it there in your vision, exactly as you can see it, as you saw it on that slide. Each time it fades or your mind tries to go onto something else, bring it back. So you're trying to keep it there this time. And now open your eyes. What happened to the image that time? Did it feel like it was shifting, fading, and you had to pull it back, and then it kind of slipped away and you pulled it back again? Or you might have had to try really hard to keep focused on it, to really try and keep that image there. So what was that like for you in the two different versions there? The first one, you were trying to push it away. And what can often happen is it keeps flicking back and we keep sort of getting flickers of the image as we try and push it away. And the second time we try to keep it there, but it sort of fades, doesn't it? It kind of fades away, or your mind goes on to something else and you think, oh, bring it back. So that just shows some of the things that happen when we try to stop thinking about something. Because when you try to stop thinking about something or stop doing anything really, it sets up a paradoxical effect in the brain where you become more likely to think about that thing. And that comes from ironic process theory from Wegner and colleagues. And I've put a link to that article on my blog post, How to Stop Worrying, if you want to read further into the actual research there, which is quite fascinating. It's then led on to more research studies about thought suppression and how when you try to suppress thoughts, sometimes it can mean you get more of those thoughts. So with worry, this is really important, isn't it? Because if we're telling ourselves to stop worrying, we are more likely to have worries. So that's the first thing to do when you are trying to stop worrying, is to not say to yourself, stop worrying, don't think about it. Don't do that because it doesn't always help. So, how do you stop worrying? So, the first thing to be mindful of is that you are going to be trying to disrupt a pattern that may have been well practiced and that the brain does very easily. So, the first thing to do is we're going to try and sort of stop this pattern of worry, anxiety by trying to create a new sort of flow chart for the brain to sort of follow. So, the first thing to do is to notice that you're worrying, label it as a worry. So, you can notice that you're worrying and say to yourself, oh, I'm worrying again. Then note down or say to yourself, what is it you are actually worrying about? Because this will help you to go into the next part of the flow chart, which is starting to problem solve what that thing is. A worry often starts as normal problem solving. You're just trying to solve a problem that you foresee, but it gets hijacked into worry whenever we think about something that makes us feel a bit anxious. And then that takes you down a biased train of thought where you can then get caught in this cycle of worry, anxiety. And it shifts you away from, it's like it hijacks normal problem solving. So this flowchart here, which is called the worry tree, is to try and get yourself back to normal problem solving. So as we go into our first writing session today, what I'd like to ask you to do is to write down all of the things that you are worrying about at the moment, or that you know you have been worrying about. Get them all out onto paper. So just make a list of all of those things. When you have your list, because there's 7 minutes to this first writing session, so when you have your list, we're going to deal with that list in the next writing session. But when you have that, if there's time left, what I want you to do is to write about what comes up for you after you've made that list. And that could be anything, but go with what comes up for you until the 7 minutes are up. Okay, so we're going to go into our first session now. So hopefully you're doing pen and paper like I am, but if you want to type, that's fine. So we're getting out onto paper all of the worries that are going through your mind at the moment, all right? Putting them into words, which is another important part of this process. All right, so I'll see you after 7 minutes. This is broken down into 5 minutes and 2 minutes to give you a bit of a countdown for the last 2 minutes of the session. All right, see you in 7 minutes. welcome back. Okay, right. So, how did you find that? Before we go into the next session where we're going to deal with these worries, let's just take a moment just to pause and breathe, just having a quick check in with ourselves, especially if we've been writing about things that make us feel anxious and worried. All right, so I'm going to take a big breath in and let it out like a big sigh. And another big breath in and let it out like a big sigh. And just one more of those. Take a big breath in and let it out like a big sigh. Checking for any tension anywhere, shaking out if you've got any tension. All right, so hopefully you have a list of all your worries. I've got a list of mine. And as we go into the next session, we're going to use the worry tree to ask ourselves specific questions about the worries that are on the list. So I'm just going to bring that back up for you. All right. So for each item on your list, as we go into the next session, what I want you to do is to ask yourself if you can do anything about this right now. If there are some small things that you might be able to do something about, maybe you can't tackle the whole thing, but maybe there are some things that you can do right now or over the next week. So, what you want to do is to break down that big worry into things that you can do something about now or over the next week. And for those things, schedule what it is you can do, even if that is very small actions. Those are often the best, right? Those small actions. Schedule what to do and when you are going to do them. All right, so both of those things are really important. The what, and that preferably is something small because you want to break it down into really small steps. And when are you going to do it? And keeping your end of the bargain there with what you're going to do and when you do it is really important, because if you don't do it, if you put it off, your brain will remember that and it will throw it back up again as a worry. So that's the things you can do something about, or you can break the thing down into smaller things you can do something about right now or over the next week. For the things that you can't do anything about, they're really hypothetical. They're not things you can do anything about. For those things, if they are a no, because you literally cannot do anything about it, what you can do is say to yourself, I can't do anything about that right now. Okay, and that's really important because it's a way of letting it go by saying that you maybe need more information before you can act. All right, so that's what to do for the no's. If you do that for every item on your list, and then if you get to the end and there's still some time left, you can move on to planning and intention setting for the next week. So I plan to do this, this, and this with the worries and with other things. My intentions for the week are, you can move on to that if there's time left. All right, so I've put a reminder of the deciding what to do and scheduling it on the slide as well. All right, and then I'll see you in 7 minutes after we've done the processing of our worries. All right, see you soon. Hello, welcome back. Okay, I wonder how you found that then. Whew. Did you manage to get to some actions that you could take for the worries that were on your list? That was quite a quick session on worry and how you can integrate it into your weekly process session. Um, if you've got any questions, feel free to send me any questions. I have got a chat. Um, Let me just bring back the worry tree because this is a technique that you can use anytime you notice yourself caught in a worry chain. And I think that's the first thing to start to do, isn't it? Is to notice if you are worrying, regardless of how far down the chain you might be. Just notice that you're worrying, and it's learning to say that, isn't it? Oh, hang on, I'm worrying. And then one of the things I do is I use the question from the worry tree, can I do anything about that right now? And if the answer is no, just let it go. Um, if the answer is yes, there is something I can do, then it's usually about scheduling that thing and doing it. Because one of the other things, which we haven't had a chance to talk about much today, but it's probably quite implicit in a lot of what we've done here, especially in the second session, is avoidance. So often with worry, it can happen because there is something that you are putting off, or you don't know how to do, or it isn't easy to do that. Um, or you haven't actually been able to break it down into the steps of things because it just feels like a big thing. Um, and so there's an avoidance of that thing because we maybe, unless we've done an exercise like this, haven't realized what we can break it down to take those small steps to get us out of avoidance. So avoidance can be a really important part of worry. So if you have broken your worries down into things that you can do, and you've given yourself a schedule of what those things are and when you're going to do them, try to make sure that you do them, because if you don't, your brain's going to know, isn't it? And it's going to throw that back up as a worry. So that goes for things that we've procrastinated over. We know that we've procrastinated over them. Our brain knows that too. So it throws it back up. Oh, when are you going to do that? When are you going to do that? Oh, you haven't done that. So avoidance is a really important part of worry. So you can use this worry tree whenever you notice that you are worrying. All right. So there's a QR code on here. Hopefully you can see it, and that will take you to my website where you can download the worry tree to use anytime you want to. Or if you just go to my website, donnabottomley.com /blog, you will see the article there, How to Stop Worrying. There's a bit more information in that, and there is a download of the worry tree for you in that. So I hope that you found that helpful. So have a lovely week, and I'll see you next Sunday. All right. Bye for now.